Very rarely do I find a device that can potentially help both myself and you guys hit straighter, more accurate, longer golf shots. Today, I feel like I've found that. Guys, this is a full review of the HackMotion system. This can potentially help you with your wrist angles through the golf swing. It is utilised by some of the best golfers in the world, and today we're going to put it through its paces and see just how it works, why it works, and potentially why it could transform my game and yours. It comes in 3 different variants. We have the HackMotion Core, HackMotion Plus, and for all you experts out there who want every little intricate detail, the HackMotion Pro. Today we're going to talk through the features that you can get with it, how it can potentially help you square that club face up right the way down through into impact, and we're going to look at a couple of different options in my game that could potentially help me hit better golf shots. That's what this is all about. I really struggle sometimes to find a training aid that can help with consistency. If you want to build up club speed, if you want to kind of work on your swing path and things like that, there's lots of different things that you can use, but club face is always a very difficult one. So I'm really interested to see if this can work. We're going to have a lot more in-depth, detailed weekly videos over on Get Good at Golf for the weekly hack. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But Chris, you've got the app up open now, and we're going to look at my different wrist angles here and just see if potentially this is something that could help me and of course help you guys with your club face angles.
Yeah, so the first thing we want to do is calibrate. Obviously, it's good to get out here and get the numbers on the golf course. Again, I'm still predominantly a coach, and getting this out here and seeing what people's numbers are on the golf course is better than maybe on the driving range. That's exactly what we're going to do first for James. So you'll see on screen now exactly how we want to calibrate this. So, and then we are then going to move it up in the motion you've just seen on screen, and that is now James all set. You'll see on there if James moves his wrist a little bit, move it a little bit.
Oh yeah!
We can see straight away what we get in there. So a little bit of extension, a little bit of flexion, but let's now put it in with the driver.
This is really interesting as well because you don't have to be a rocket scientist to use this. So we have flexion here and we have extension, and they're really the 2 variants that you need to know about squaring up a club face. So Chris, shall I hit some shots and we'll measure some data? Today we're going to look at driver, iron, and you can of course look at putter if you do have the HackMotion Plus as well, so you can kind of cover every variant in your bag. I'm really excited to see if this could be the thing that really helps me beat Chris a lot more. How do you feel knowing that you're trying to help me beat you?
We're all friends here, James.
We're all, especially Bobby, the intern.
Bobby, the intern.
First day on the job, Rob. How are you doing?
I think I'm doing well.
He thinks he's doing well, right?
He's doing well. Controversial.
That's a lovely fade to start the day off, right back into the middle of the fairway. I'm really intrigued to see what my wrist angles do here with driver as well.
And you'll see on screen we get it at address, we do also get it at the top and then at impact. So we're starting to see that's not just for flexion and extension, we also have ulnar and radial, which James is going to demonstrate right now, which is the up and down motion. So when you're setting your wrists, that's also what we've got to see. Are you setting them correctly or are you not?
And it's really interesting because if you want your wrist to work properly, you have to think of that ulnar radial and you have to think of flexion extension. So like my wrists used to really roll inside here, and that used to really kind of rob me of, well, any kind of accuracy whatsoever, didn't it?
Yeah, and this is exactly where you see, is your grip working for you? Do you have the right grip, or is that stopping you from being able to set the club? And then also the final parameter we have is rotation. So obviously forearm rotation, it is not flipping of the hands, it's not releasing the club this way, it's obviously letting those arms rotate through. So straight away there, we want to start to get James probably 3 shots that he's got here, start to see what his patterns are. From the first one, we're going to be able to say that could be 1 swing that he does. So let's get 3 and then let's jump down into the fairway before we go through.
And what's really interesting here as well is, so HackMotion claim that 90% of golfers should have very, very consistent and very similar repeatable motions with their wrists. So golfers such as Tommy Fleetwood have used this, and you can sort of start to see, especially when you go into the pro version, compare yourself against some of the best players in the world and see how your wrists do move, because essentially you can do so much right with the big portions of your body, of which I have a lot of, but really it's the intricate motions that can really help you play better golf. I'm really, you know what, it's making me think more about how I actually move my wrists as well, because it's not something I think about much in the golf swing whatsoever. Guys, I hope you are enjoying this. If you are and you're thinking about trying one of these for yourself, there's a link in the description below. Really excited to work a little bit closer with the guys at HackMotion, because I believe this is something which so many golfers just don't think about. So if you go for golf lessons and you want to be able to record just how your wrists do work, it could be something really, really helpful. Right, same shot again.
Same shot again, a little fade. Gorgeous.
Carbon copy.
Yeah, so very interesting numbers again, starting to be consistent there. Let's have one more. Let's see if we can play a third shot, and then we can have a look at them all together.
And it is interesting how your wrist should move potentially slightly differently between driver and iron. Obviously, we're going to look at putting as well and just see, because essentially what you're wanting from putting is to get out those little intricate movements that could potentially lead to idiosyncrasies. You like that?
Ooh, look at James. Big words on an early morning.
Sun's coming up now though.
That's 3 very similar shots.
And what I like is that audio feedback as well. You can hear it just kind of ping on the app. Obviously, we've got Chris helping us here today, but you can have this just kind of set in front of you on the driving range, can't you? How are we looking, Coach?
Yeah, if you have it down in front of you, you're obviously going to get that feedback straight away.
So looking at all the numbers all together, one thing we're kind of looking for here is consistency throughout the board, aren't we? It's very difficult to hit consistent golf shots if you don't have consistent ulnar or radial deviation or kind of flexion and extension, or in fact forearm rotation, Chris.
Correct, yeah, so we can see obviously from, if we're talking flexion and extension, at setup we've got a lot of consistency. So through the 3 shots we've got 32 degrees, 31 and 29, average 31, so very consistent at address. Getting into that same position, the grip's not changing, we're not start all of a sudden going to a strong grip, we're also not going to a weak grip. Top of the backswing, again, we can see there is consistencies. We've got 19, 17 and 19. So again, getting into that same position at the top of the backswing, which is what we want from all golfers, because if we can get consistently to the top, we can then start to work down. Relatively consistent into impact. We had one swing which was the second shot, which I would say wasn't the best strike.
It was a Healy strike, the second one.
And we can see that from the numbers, so a big difference there. We're up at 15 degrees compared to 3 and 5 from the 2 well-struck ones. So straight away there on the app you can see that you can tag shots, so you could put that down as a Healy one, come back to that data and start to see, right, what's happened throughout your swing. So you're straight away figuring out what you are doing wrong.
And that's one of the big factors of just how intricate the app is and how simple the app is as well, because you can tag shots, you can move things around. There's actually some different kind of helpful tutorials in there as well if you are trying to get more consistent wrist angles and things like that. So a lot of it is in the app, and when you are moving through the Core, the Pro and the Plus, one of the big factors of change that you get in the app is the amount of information and data that you do collect. So very, very interesting, and I love the simplicity of it so far. This is my first time trying this, and I wanted to put it on camera potentially to show you guys hopefully how simple it was, and I think we're doing that quite well because it does feel...
Yeah, it's easy to set up, the data's right there. Obviously you can have this down on a driving range. You can also do it at home if you're making some swings, and you can also do the training, which obviously you do get some obviously noise to be able to go, right, am I in the right position? I'm going to use sound to say, right, can I get my wrist into this position? I've been working on getting it more flat at the top. I don't want it to be obviously extended, because that's why I'm hitting a slice. You can start to get some sound feedback.
Absolutely. If Chris sets us back up on the app here, one of the things that I really, really enjoy is, yes, you have to hit a shot for it to correlate some data, but if I just want to, say I'm at home and I don't have much time to kind of practice, I don't have the driving range handy at the moment, but I want to work on my wrist angles at impact, I want to work on my wrist angles during the takeaway, you could have the app set up in front of you. You can have this kind of audio feedback, and if you can probably hear that on Chris's microphone, that if I don't have that position, we don't have the feedback, get it to the desired position and you can hear that, and if I overdo it, we don't get it. So, I mean, if I was doing this at home in the kitchen, if Laura was at home, the wife, she might think, what on earth are you doing? But if you're very, very adamant to get better at golf and get more consistent, then generally you know that you want to have that kind of element of feedback, even if potentially you're not at a driving range or you're not practicing. Let's go and hit some iron shots, let's collect the data for that. So far, I must say, I'm very impressed with how intuitive it is. I'm very impressed with how simple it is as well. And it doesn't feel kind of odd holding it either, which I was quite worried about when I saw it. So ticking all the boxes so far, let's go hit some irons. So guys, we've just filmed our first ever weekly hack over on our teaching channel, Get Good at Golf. And we came up with a fantastic drill where this audio feedback with the HackMotion can really help you with your ball striking. I'll throw that on now as part of this video. If you want to check out the full video over on Get Good at Golf, that's going to be a weekly series every Saturday. Go check it out. But this could totally transform your game.
So guys, a nice drill for you to do here. If you do have the HackMotion, you can hear there by James's microphone, you can get a little bit of audio feedback. So if you're doing this at home, just your wife might not be the most happy with that noise constantly in the background, but you can see what kind of wrist angles we are trying to get into there. You can see that that is nice and flat, and if I can get that into impact with a bit of shaft lean, we're going to put plenty of pressure on that. But a drill for you to do at home is obviously to get into that position. You can see that this is my impact position here. I've got forward shaft lean, I've got that face square, and if I go back, I'm still trying to keep consistent that I'm in that position. So I can do all the way back, and as I come down here, I'm trying to get that club working left and keep my wrist in that position. You can see that it went off.
Yeah.
If I go too far, I'm going to get no sound at all. If I then go too far this way, I'll also start to feel I'm too extended, but the club will hit my hands, and this is what
so you physically can't get that noise off when you're doing this drill, which is exactly what we're looking for. If Chris tries to extend that club now, can't until you get to a point where you're going to harm yourself.
Until I can take the club off there. So again, I'd have to be in that position. So this is a nice drill that you can do with or without the HackMotion. Get this set. This is pretty much your impact position. This is what we want to see your wrist position in. And if we had that cut, we wouldn't be able to get there. You'd see that's what that would do to the club face, and that's the kind of shot we would see. If we start to extend that wrist, we'll start to lose the golf ball to the right, and that's not going to help you get good at golf.
Okay, so there's some information with the drive. We're now going to calibrate some iron numbers here and just see exactly how consistent we are potentially with a mid-iron. And what I love about this as well is you don't have to get a subscription to this. Once you've got it, you've got it, and generally it will just be app software updates that will kind of keep coming through that. So you'll never need to upgrade the hardware. Chris, can I hit a couple of nice consistent A-tines here, do you think?
I don't know about
and we'll see exactly what kind of numbers we're going to get with this HackMotion.
And this is the age-old question, isn't it? Is a driver swing the same as an iron swing?
We're about to find out, my friend.
Oh.
Again, nice bit of audio feedback, knowing that it's collected the data. So I imagine if I'm on the driving range here, I might just kind of have my driving range session, keep hitting balls, just have the app set open, then look at the data afterwards. Would you agree with that, Chris, rather than keep looking at each shot potentially?
Yeah, obviously you can start to just collect some data, go through it after, and then for the next session, or even if you do 10 shots, then go through the data, you can then set yourself some feedback, some audio, maybe some drills through on the driving range, so your half an hour or your hour that you've got at the driving range is productive.
Absolutely, because productive practice makes for
great play.
Oh, I was going to stick with another P, but and then if you are looking at drills, there are drills on the app as well to help you with it as well. So if you're trying to get...
Yep, there are. So obviously a lot of drills already built into the app, so you can go on there. If you're struggling with certain things, it will obviously give you suggested ones, so you can obviously go to something that's going to help you. But straight away, we can see some differences from an iron to a driver.
Now, interestingly, that second swing felt like a better swing than the first swing, so a little bit of feedback for you there monitoring the numbers. Was there a big difference?
So again, guys, obviously on there you'll see on the screen now we can tag the shot. So if I go on to tag, you can title the shot, you choose the club, and you even put on the ball flight and the distance that's gone. So you can start to see, right, is your 8-iron going your normal distance? Was it misstruck, and why is that related to the numbers that we've got? Again, obviously with the drills that you can do on here, a lot of things when we say repetition, it's like when you go for a lesson, how many times have you said, keep practicing, keep doing this same thing, but they don't necessarily do it in the right way. This is where obviously you can get every single position correct. You're practicing, like we said, productively, but you're making sure that you are hitting those positions throughout your practice. But some differences straight away from iron to driver, which is what I would expect to see. Again, comment below, guys, would you be expecting to see big differences from your irons to your driver, James?
I think potentially I would, because with a driver, you're sort of trying to, and if you look at the wrist angles here on screen now, driver, I'm trying to hold the loft on it, whereas with an iron, I'm more trying to maybe take the loft off. So if you look at the flexion and extension difference, there's a huge difference. I would think probably quite a big difference, really.
Yeah, exactly, and that's certainly what we're seeing there, and we should start to see a pattern. No swing is going to be the same, but know your numbers. Don't try and replicate a driver swing on your irons, same on your wedges, because we're trying to basically create total different shots.
Absolutely, we're trying to be consistent throughout the bag, and this is where, again, I think this could potentially help so many golfers, and there must be a reason why some of the world's best players have used the HackMotion as well, to help with that consistency. Another nice consistent shot there. They're all just nice buttery fades. See the divots are pointing left, so if I want to get a little bit of more feedback. We're looking at wrist angles. I can look at swing path potentially with the divot patterns, or if you're using this like I'm going to be doing on the simulator, I can kind of tie all that in nicely. I can look at my club face angle in relation to my wrist angle and see potentially how that's working. So I'm really excited by this. I think this could really help me with my game. I had the David Ledbetter lesson just the other day. If you want to check that video out, I'll link it in the description below. But to be able to have my own feedback and to be able to work about how I want to create my wrist angles and of course my club face angles, with a cleaner club face than that, could be really helpful. Shall I go one more, Chris, or have you got enough?
Let's go one more, but we have got the numbers on screen now, so you can see, obviously, similar to the driver, not every swing's the same. We can see some inconsistencies in that third shot. But it's all about identifying what shot that created, what kind of strike you got, and what your wrists were doing.
The third shot was heavy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So straight away we can see that from the numbers, and that's a good thing about the app. It's giving you that feedback straight away. I felt it was a little bit heavy. Why is that? Let's look at the numbers, and then let's start to see if there's some drills. If that becomes a pattern, James is catching 4 or 5 heavy in a row, then let's start to get a drill that's going to help that. And
the more I'm using this, the more I'm understanding how wrist angles don't just affect club face angle, they affect delivery, they affect strike, they affect pretty much everything. So it's a really important factor of the golf swing.
It is. But let's see what it does now with the short stick.
So feedback so far, and like I said, whenever I do these reviews, I always want to do them in a portion where this is my first time getting it out of the box. And the simplicity behind it is quite, to be honest, it's quite staggering, because I'm a PGA professional by trade, but I'm not a physician. I'm not an expert in wrist angles. I'm not an expert. I know the difference between flexion and extension, but apart from that, I'm probably a very much Joe Blogs kind of customer for this. I love the idea that I can still understand that, I can still get feedback from it, and how simple the app is to use as well. So that's some great feedback if anyone's thinking about potentially this might be a little bit too complex for me. Let's have a look at putting, because putting I've been pretty good over the last 12 months. Is that because of the consistency in my wrist angles? Let's find out. So the big factor we talk about is consistency. You can see the 4 shots there, all slightly left of target, but bang smack in the middle of that green. Consistent numbers with the wrist angles leading to consistent face angle numbers, and because the path was so consistent, as you saw potentially with the divot patterns, consistent shots. Oh, flag's robbed me there, hasn't it? You do go for the HackMotion Plus system. This is where you can start to talk putter numbers as well. I think a lot of people would potentially benefit from just the putter numbers anyway. This is something you can definitely practice at home on the carpet, on the laminate floor, on the allotment, potentially.
Laminate floor. But yeah, this is the area where obviously we're not going to see much change in your wrist angles, but we still want consistency like we've got there. There's going to be minimal movement here. We're going to have a little bit of play in the wrist. It's not going to be rigid, but again, we don't want to start to see that you are having a lot of, especially flexion and extension, but even here, radial and ulnar. So are you letting your hands get high? Are you getting them too low because of how you set up the golf ball? Is that creating you inconsistencies? We want to see that there's a pattern on here. And again, you can get the audio feedback here. So you'll see that James has to get into certain positions to get that feedback. 2 out of 4. Not bad at all, but you'll hear here on my mic, you'll see if James does get his wrist into the right angle and settle.
And you see, this is interesting because when I feel like I'm putting well, I feel like there's a tiny bit of forward shaft lead in the putter, and I do that by kind of flexing the wrist a little bit, or the left wrist especially, and that's how I can generally generate that really nice roll.
This is in a range, obviously it does say on the screen there, you'll see it's between minus 15 and 15 degrees. So again, we can make that as tight as you want. So depending on your handicap, we can change the ranges on there, just like you would be able to on any other kind of device. So like you say on TrackMan, if you're going for lessons and you're on TrackMan, they might obviously change your club face and your path. Here we can do exactly the same. We can narrow it up to get it precise.
Guys, that is a review of the HackMotion sensor. I'm really looking forward to testing this more and more. 3 different options. We have the Core, we have the Plus, we have the Pro. Thanks so much for watching. Smash that subscribe button. The link is in the description below if you want to get hold of one of these bad boys and work on your wrist angles for yourself. We're going to have different videos throughout the year on this channel using the HackMotion, and we're going to have the weekly hack over on Get Good at Golf. That's kicking off today, so go and check that out. We're going to talk all things hack and a lot of things HackMotion. Thanks for watching. See you all at the same time tomorrow. Goodbye.